Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on maximizing your search campaigns beyond the keyword. A huge thank you to all of you for joining us and taking time out of your busy day. As with all of our webinars with Ad Taxi, we want to try to give you some tactical tools to implement, some things that are really going to help you, not pie in the sky stuff. So we're going to get down to that in just a minute, but a touch of housekeeping. I always like to cover it at the first beginning of these. All of these sessions are recorded. All of our webinars are found in our resource center at Ad Taxi. We will be sending out a recording of this. You missed something in the slide, you didn't hear my voice or something, someone interrupted you, there is the recording that will be coming out to you. There's a question bar on the side. We will try to take some questions at the end. I'll be honest, sometimes these things, reading them during the presentation is really hard, so we probably won't get to them throughout the presentation, but just know we will try to answer those at the end. And without further ado, if this thing would click, that'd be awesome. Oops, not click too much. I am proud to have Jim Jobe next to me. Jim and I, believe it or not, have worked together. Like, we worked at a different company 15 years ago in another local search company. We weren't so tight back then, but now we've done a ton of internal trainings, a lot of external webinars. And here's the biggest benefit for you about having Jim on the line is that you don't hear me talk as much.
I don't know. It's like, were you like an FM DJ in college or something? A 2-watt station at your local community college.
Hey, I did start a local station up in Vail. K-Links, if you're so inclined to check it out. Anyway, Jim is insanely knowledgeable in search. As I mentioned, we've been doing this for about 15 years. I think really that just says we're old. And Jim's claim to fame here at Ad Taxi is he provides the adult supervision around the building. So he's our go-to man for that when we need a little guidance. But Jim, super to have you, man.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim knows his search, that's for sure. Been doing it forever. So without just keep on telling you how great Jim is, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to just talk about setting the foundation. These things, if you don't have them right, please give us a call or talk to your agency, because this is just the groundwork. Then we're going to get in the meat and potatoes. Really, what we want to talk about today is setting up goals and conversions, understanding those, the optimizations. This is where we're going to dig in deep. Jim's going to go into like device optimizations, time of day, geo, demo, as well as audiences. So that's really going to bring those, like I mentioned, those tactical things that you can bring to your campaign and help you out there. One thing I noticed, is a lot of times a lot of people are like, hey, I got a guy in the garage, my friend's son does search for us and this. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but it misses a lot. And those are the things we want to cover. And we want to help you save your time and energy, wasting that, going around and saying, why isn't this doing that? Why isn't that? We're going to help you out and solve some of those issues. Stop wasting dollars. Yeah, sure, you might be getting some good results, but you're spending too much. So we want to try to help you save some of those dollars on that side and increase your revenue. So that's kind of our goals with some of this on that side. And then I'm just going to hand it over to Jim, and I'll be quiet for quite a while now.
So we're going to assume that you've got the basics down, that you have a keyword list built out, that you have different match types in there, broad match, modified, all of that. You have negative keywords to keep expensive but irrelevant clicks out of your stream. You have it built thematically with ad groups, and that you are taking full advantage of all the text ad permeations that Google supplies us. And this applies to Bing too, but we're just going to say Google like it was Kleenex instead of facial tissue, right? So we're going to make those assumptions that you have all of the foundations. This isn't a 101. This is kind of the deeper dive and opportunities or tactics to identify opportunities to make your campaigns more efficient, return better revenue, save you time and money. See how I circled that back around to what you had a minute ago?
Sure, that's why they call you smooth X-Lax, right?
Yeah, that's what
You're
professionals
so
do.
smooth.
So given that we have all that, where do we go from here? So the long-term success, this is what we're looking for, is the difference of 1 degree. So if you're shooting at a target, let's just say that instead of a rifle, because we don't want to get into a gun rights or Second Amendment thing. So let's say it's with a bow.
Maybe out on a golf course shooting
You
geese.
can do whatever.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting at a target and you're off by just 1 degree, right? After 1 foot, you're going to miss your target by, a quarter of an inch. After 100 yards, that's 5.5 feet. After a mile, you're 92 feet off. So what we're trying to do is hone you in and get you more efficient with your campaign management. And I just like using this, and you'll see later on, I've built a circle back into this. So this is basically about conversion-based optimization. So to start out foundationally, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. What we're looking at is identifying deltas in conversion rates and cost per conversion in order to make optimizations. And the metrics that matter, your conversion is usually a metric that matters and is going to differ by what your campaign objective is. So if you're a plumber, you're trying to generate leads, you're trying to generate phone calls, maybe form fills. Ultimately, it's sales. Others, it's form fills, email sign up, right? Whatever indicates that they're going down the path of righteousness. Because people don't make a decision, depends on the size of the decision, they don't necessarily make it right away. There's different pieces of the funnel that search plays into. And so early on, what we might be trying them to do is just engage with us and capture their name for an email sign up, right? Or if it's retail and we're trying to drive store traffic, they're not going to make a phone call, right? I mean, generally someone who's looking, let's just say for furniture, they go to your website, they do a search, they go to your website, they see that you have the style and the selection that they're looking for. They're not going to call and say, hey, do you really have 50 couches in stock? And you say, no, the guy just walked out of here with one, so we only have 49. And they hang up and say, never mind. No, right? So they're not going to make a phone call if you're a retail store kind of location. But what might indicate that they're going down the path of righteousness, that that's good traffic, is if they went to your map and directions page. So what your conversion is only germane to you. But we're going to use whatever you've defined as a conversion in order to do optimizations. So first and foremost, let's see what your conversions are. So the place to find the conversions are up in the toolbox at the top of your screen where it says Tools and Settings. There'll be a drop down up there, a whole menu up there, but you want to go to the measurement and you want to hit the conversions, and then it's going to drop down to the screen you see before you right now. These are the conversions that are being measured right here. So you can see that one is a form fill, which is done off of the website, and the other one is phone calls, which are piping in. So those are our leads here. Now, it's important to differentiate. We can track a lot of things. We don't have to define everything we track as a conversion. We're going to optimize around conversions. There's pieces that lead to that conversion that we may want to track. They may be listed here, but we're not going to optimize around those. So just from a foundational standpoint, this is where you see what your conversions currently are, what is being tracked, and you decide whether it's relevant or not. Because it is ridiculous to optimize around an irrelevant metric, right? You're going for the wrong thing. So that's where you find that. The other thing I want to hit is just at its basics. This is very foundational. What is conversion-based optimization? 3 slides ago, we said that we're going to assume that you have your keywords all set and your negative keywords and all that. but I find keywords the best way to explain what conversion-based optimization is. So let's say that we had a $1,000 budget. We had 2 keywords, keyword A, keyword B. Keyword A costs us $5 a click. Keyword B costs us $1 a click. With my $1,000 budget, I can either get 200 clicks from keyword A, or I can get 1,000 clicks from keyword B. That's the only information available to you at this time. Bob, what do you want? Do you want 200 clicks or 1,000 clicks?
I'll take keyword B, Jim.
Absolutely. More is better. We would want 1,000 clicks. However, if we had the next piece of the information, which is that the conversion rate on keyword A is 20%. That means it takes 5 clicks before we get whatever our definition of conversion is, before we get a conversion. For our $1,000 budget with 200 clicks at 20%, we could expect 40 conversions, and our cost per conversion would be 25 bucks. Keyword B is only converting at 2%. That means it takes 50 clicks before you get a conversion, whatever that conversion is. That means that for your $1,000 and your 1,000 clicks, you're going to get 20 conversions. Your cost per conversion is $50. If that is next piece of information is available to you, Bob, do you want 200 clicks and 40 conversions, or do you want 1,000 clicks but only 20 conversions?
I think I chose the wrong door, Jim.
Yes, but you
Looks like keyword A.
Now you want keyword A. So in this scenario right now, we'd be tempted to say, we don't want keyword B, we just want keyword A. But I would caution you that there's 20 conversions available on keyword B. So really what we want to do is just not as valuable as we thought it was. It's not worth $1, it's only worth 50 cents. So if I lower my cost per click on keyword B to 50% or 50 cents, now I'm in line and I have done conversion-based optimization at the keyword level. That is available at the keyword level, and that's like 101. But that same thing or that same process is available for all different types of categories. So we can do that same thing on device, where we determined that if someone did a search for our keyword on a mobile device, their cost per conversion was $50. And if they did that same search on that same keyword on a desktop device or on a computer, it may have been $25, right? So we can look at those kind of metrics, cost per conversion on device, on geography, which would be location, time of day, day of week, demographic, audience, all types of levels. And that is what optimizing and maximizing your campaign beyond the keyword is about. That's what we're about to dive into. And now I'm hopelessly behind. So optimizing for success. Let's start with device targeting. So it used to be common practice for advertisers to split out their campaigns by device. This way they could control the budgets and tailor their ads and landing pages by device, right? Given the example that I just shared. Then Google introduced bid modifiers. So almost all of our optimizations are going to be done via bid adjustments or bid modifiers. There are way fewer use cases for separating campaigns by device. In search campaigns, device targeting is managed entirely with the bid adjustments. We still occasionally audit campaigns that are managing devices by having absolutely separate campaigns for desktop than for mobile, but it creates unnecessary complexity, is more readily managed via bid management. So that's where we're going with this. In this top example, you might notice that there is nearly a 30% difference in the cost per conversion between mobile and computer, right? So it's over there at 1505 on computer versus 1178 is our cost per conversion on a mobile phone. You'll look over on the left and you'll see highlighted in yellow that we have a negative 5% bid adjustment on there. Now you can do the math on this and you can see that really The difference between what our cost per conversion is on a computer and what it is on a mobile phone is 30%. So why wouldn't we have a negative 30% bid adjustment on there? I'm going to suggest to you that you start conservatively when you do bid adjustments, because there's unintended consequences when you make these adjustments. So we started out here at a negative 5%. We will see what the impact of that is, and then we'll move it another 5 or 10%. What sometimes happens, especially between mobile and computers, because of the number of ads that are shown on those different devices on the screen, is that if you over optimize, you kill all of your exposure, all of your impressions, like in this case on computer versus mobile. So be conservative. If your ROAS is good either way, you'd probably be okay. So if I can get, if it doesn't impact my impressions or my clicks, and I just can reduce my cost per click here and get it more in line with what it is on mobile, you know, without killing my volume. I mean, what you're, the question you're trying to answer to yourself is, you know, if your ROAS is fine, do I want to make, you know, 50% of $1 million or 40% of $10 million, right? And so it's not all about getting it even. You got to be looking and see where my exposure or my volume is starting to be impacted.
Sounds good. And I remember talking to another person that was in operations. They're like, we had a whole mobile team back in the days that would just optimize on the mobile device. Now it's all right here in one little place.
It's much easier to do. But a final note on devices, and it depends on the vertical or the product or service being promoted, but we often see that the search volume is on mobile, but conversion volume is on desktop. It doesn't manifest itself right here, but you know, the consumer buying behavior that is revealed by that is that a consumer might shop for a $3,000 couch on a mobile device, which is narrowing their choices, but they're likely to want to see a bigger image when it's time to buy. So we will see that like desktop gets conversions, but mobile is an integral part of the funnel. And so, I mean, it's opposite of what we're seeing here, but if we over optimize, in the example I just gave, if we over optimize to computers because that's where the conversions were coming from, then we would kill our upper funnel shopping and consideration phase, which were being done on the mobile. So as we'll cover throughout this session, there are automated options available for optimization. But as I just kind of pointed out there, I believe optimization is part data and utilizing the data that's available to you, and part art. And the art part of that is informed by the knowledge of consumer buying behavior. So make optimizations based on the deltas, on the differences like we're seeing here between a cost per conversion of 1505 and a cost per conversion of 1178. But try to understand why those deltas exist and don't over optimize. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Let's move on.
So
that was great.
This next slide is pretty much what a long term is like, what optimization is accomplished over a long period of time, right? So here you can see that our cost per conversion is just, you know, percentage points difference between the devices.
Right.
And you can see what it ended up taking us to do that. You got an 85% positive, a 45% positive, a 35% positive in order to accomplish that.
Right.
So go to the previous slide. This campaign may have started out, the one I just showed you, may have started out like this with bigger deltas and moving it 5% at a time until we saw those impacts. And then it ended up with this, which is where it's going to sit until these deltas start to change. So, you know, in doing that, what you're trying to do is lower your cost per conversion across the board, right? I mean, that's the concept of it. So your most basic one next to keywords is doing it by device. The next place you want to look is your geographic. So advertisers can set campaigns to run in specific locations. They can do bid modifiers that allow you to increase or decrease the CPC you're willing to pay for clicks from target locations. It's also possible to exclude locations within a targeted area. This is sometimes referred to as bullseye targeting, which is the illustration on the left. And other times we kind of look at it as primary, secondary, and tertiary targeting. But it doesn't matter what you call it, it's recognizing that generally conversion rates decrease as distance from the location increases. So it doesn't apply to e-com, but I mean, think about it, right? If you offer exactly what a consumer is looking for and they are in your backyard, they're a block away, much more likely to come in or convert than if they had to travel 40 miles and pass by 10 people who offer the exact same product or service. So in auto, we kind of set these up with the primary on the primary, secondary, tertiary. The primary is where you're the closest Ford store to them or the closest Chevy store or whatever.
Yeah.
So the primary is set where you are the closest logical location. The secondary is then where you kind of overlap with the other Ford store, Chevy store, whatever the case may be, right? So it's 10 miles to the guy on the left, it's 10 miles to the guy to the right. So that's kind of secondary. And then the tertiary is where it's reaching out there and they're going to have to drive by 2 other Ford stores before they get to yours, or hair salons or pizza places or whatever that looks like, right? Before they get to yours. And so from a optimization standpoint, that person that's in my backyard is worth more because their conversion rate is higher. That same click from someone a little farther away is not worth as much because it's not going to convert as high as rate. And someone from the hinterlands is worth even less. But they still may not like their closest dealer because their uncle worked there and he was a jerk, or whatever the case may be. So you still want to have exposure to them because people do like choices.
Right.
So that is fundamentally what Geographic is.
Yeah, keep me honest though, because this is a super simple. The bullseye is definitely the most simple, and then this one on the right, you kind of talks about some competitors. But there's also like natural barriers that people just aren't going to cross, right? Like I don't go over that line. You know, maybe for me in Denver, it's county line. I'm not going south of that or whatever.
So thanks for teeing that up.
Yeah, no problem.
So this doesn't have to be a radius as we pointed here. This can be done at the zip code level. Now you can't optimize any tighter than you set it up as. You can set it up as zip codes and radius, but you're absolutely right. And so number one, if you are doing radius, the center of your radius doesn't have to be your location. It can be off. Like you may skew north, south, east, or west of the area that you're a primary influencer of. And to your point, you're absolutely right. There can be a mountain right behind you as there are in Denver. And so people will come from 10 miles in front of you, but not 10 miles behind you.
Right.
There also may be an interstate highway system that acts as the Great Wall of China, and people will not cross that interstate highway system. Or it might be rail yards, or it could be a city. There's any number of things it could be flexible. So this next one is an example of exactly what the radius targeting looks like when it's on paper. So there in our backyard, we're at a plus 50. A little outside of that, we've lowered our bid to a plus 35 over kind of our par bid. And then as we've gotten farther out, we've gone to the negative numbers, negative 10, farther away, and negative 15, even farther away, right? So this is, by the way, this particular campaign has hundreds of zip codes in there, and I truncated it so I could show the bid adjustments like this, rather than have to go through 50 and it wouldn't fit on the screen.
No, PowerPoint's not too friendly for that.
They are not.
Yeah.
But so the other thing that you can look at in this by Geographic is that it's not all, I mean, you're always looking at your cost per conversion, but that is not the end all be all. If you're a high-end jewelry store, you may find that there is an affluent zip code 5 miles away that it converts better than your backyard. You should do the bid adjustments according to that.
Right.
On auto, it's oftentimes distance, but on in other verticals, it's usually cost per conversion. And you can be more agnostic about the distance and just let the data take you down the path of righteousness.
Yeah, that's that Jim quote. Just as we alluded to earlier, the path of righteousness. Just we're going to trademark that soon.
How soon? So we went over device, we went over geographic, which is fundamental. Demographic is another way we can do it. So we can see what it is by age, by gender, by household income, right? All three of those are shown right here. This is, by the way, this is a high-end designer clothing brand. Think like $2,000 little black dresses instead of $70 little black dresses. And you can see the demographic makeup of their top purchasers. I've filtered it in such a way. But females that are in the top 10% of household income convert well, but not young females that are in the top 10% of household income. You can see that in the age demographic. So, just looking at, that type of thing, you would do bid adjustments based on how the people are falling on here. But this is another example of where the art of this comes in, because you're looking through here and you're saying that makes sense. Is like females 45 to 54 hover here in the top 10%, have a cost per conversion of 815. Slightly younger than that's at 1005. Older than that is at 1105. We're all kind of in the ballpark. But we get down here to these fellers, 45 to 55, 54-year-old males that are rich, and they've got a cost per conversion of 452. Why wouldn't I optimize around those? This is where the art comes in. Those guys aren't shopping little black dresses. They are ordering little black dresses informed by what their loved one or whoever the recipient is has told them that they want and where they want it from.
You're scaring me a little bit, Jim.
Well, I'm just telling you, this is where your common sense and your capacity for critical evaluation raises its ugly head, and you don't optimize blindly, because otherwise you're going to make all of your adjustments off of males in the top 10% of household income that are between 45 and 65, and you're going to completely miss your market.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, here we've got conversion. So you'd say 23, that's pretty low when you look at it like against this 39 here. But again, it goes to the cost of conversion. When I'm spending half of that amount, maybe the 23 isn't that big, but my cost per conversion is great. So why would, if you just looked at conversions alone, you might say, oh, it's not as good. But when I look at that percentage or the cost, now I'm jamming.
Yeah. And so, it's like I used to tell people years ago where you and I used to work. It's like, one of the most effective places that people can advertise in print is the back of a church bulletin, but you can't live off of that.
Right.
Right. So, you only pay $5 and you might get $1,000 job, but that's the only job you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so, you're going to look at volume, and that's going to inform your decisions as well. Definitely. But this was just a good example of where you want some insight and some art so that you don't miss the boat completely.
Cool.
This next slide, the top piece of that I just added in is you can also add in there parental status, right? Parent, not a parent. Where am I? So the top graph on this one illustrates, so that other one was kind of a combination. This is bid adjustments just based on household income, or opportunities for bid adjustments just based on household incomes. So you can see here that searchers falling in the lower 50% of household income have a significantly higher cost per conversion. They're less likely to convert because they don't have the money for a $2,000 dress. But because they're still converting, there's still some conversions there. We don't want to exclude them and the revenue they're generating. We just value their clicks less, as we did with in the very first example with keyword A and keyword B.
Right.
So a negative bid adjustment in this case would be totally justified and supported by the available data. As you can see at the bottom of the graph, A significant number of conversions are generated by users on which data isn't available to Google. So you just can use what you can use, right?
Right. Your unknowns here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bottom graph is the same data set, but it's parsed by age. So, though it's not highlighted based on cost per conversion, a negative bid adjustment might be appropriate for this 18 to 24 age group. An adjustment is tempting on the 25 to 34-year-old age group, but as that age range has the most number of conversions, any adjustments should be done very conservatively so as to not negatively impact that volume.
Yeah. Believe it or not, Jim has given up caffeine today after 3 Rockstar drinks yesterday. So
Yeah, I was told that 800 milligrams was probably over the safe threshold for a man of my maturity.
Yeah, we could do the litany of disclosures at the end of all the pharmacy ads that are there.
Another opportunity that comes in, and again, you guys, these are all in your campaigns. It's going through and you're trying to identify deltas. So, or, differences in cost per conversion. So day of week is another one. This is a lead gen, it's generating leads to a call center campaign. They're already dark on weekends. So that's why you're only seeing Monday through Friday. So the difference between the highest cost per conversion and the average is about 11%. Right? The average is down here at the bottom. The total days is the one circled at 1262 or whatever. And so the deviation between that and the highest and that and the lowest is about 11%. It's debatable whether this small of a deviation from the average warrants any optimizing bid adjustment. A lot of times, as we kind of indicated, these decisions are determined by scale or volume. So remember one of the first slides where we quantified what being off target by 1 degree meant over increasing distances like a foot or a mile. You have to determine whether the impact will be 1 conversion a day or 100 a month. Whenever optimizations are made, performance is either going to improve, get worse, or stay the same. Even when you're doing it on beta, or on deltas, you're going to have unintended consequences that you couldn't foretell. So I generally want to see a larger delta than we're seeing here before my risk reward criteria is satisfied.
Right.
But volume of conversions and thin margins on sales can certainly lower my delta threshold. So, if we're running really, really thin, a very small variance might be the difference between profitability and not.
Yeah.
I'm more prone to make the decision. If I'm running at an 8x ROAS, I'm going to be a lot more conservative with making any kind of adjustments. Does that make sense to everybody? So there's day.
Yeah, it sure does.
Great. So there's day of week. Here's time of day. So we're looking at the same kind of deltas on time of day. This is on the same lead gen campaign that we just looked at. Now we're looking at it by the hour of day. I have a much larger delta now, and it's easier to justify. You see the one in red. It's easier to justify a negative bid adjustment during those early morning hours. However, and this is where the art comes back in, isn't a large volume early. And remember that optimization is part art and part decision making, knowing their decision making journey. In this industry, the decision making journey involves some comparison shopping. So there's a good chance that early in the morning, that traffic that's not converting is actually resulting in a conversion an hour or 2 hours later.
Right.
So the CPC, as you can see on this, is already lowest during that time frame. So I left that unadjusted. I never addressed that. Wasn't that big of an impact. The risk of me impacting the conversions that were happening latently an hour or 2 later was too great. Places, time of day, and day of week is most applicable. Pizza delivery.
Yep.
Pizza delivery comes to mind, right?
Yeah, 4 in the morning.
Well, I'm older, so I was thinking more 6 in the evening. But it's also applied regularly to like HVAC and plumbing and whatnot, because there's people that will that will break stuff over the weekend that don't want to pay the after hours rates. So they get a really high call volume on Monday mornings.
Yes.
So there's places to do it. It's something to look at. Again, you're trying to identify deltas. So we have gone through kind of basically, right? We went through the basics, and then we went through geographic. We went through device, time of day, day of week, and demographic data, age, gender, household income, parental status.
You covered a lot. We got more.
But wait, there's
Oh,
more.
wait.
So, I don't really know how to address this one. I mean, there's automated bid strategies. If you're using automated smart bidding strategies like target CPA, target ROAS, maximize conversions, maximize conversion value, you don't need to make manual bid adjustments since those strategies kind of automatically set the bids to optimize for the conversion goal that you've specified. If you make a manual bid adjustment to your automated smart bidding strategy, it won't be supported. So you can do it all you want, nothing's going to happen. Device bid adjustments for target CPA allows you to modify the value of your CPA target, so you can do some manipulation that way. But it's that rather than the bid themselves. Yeah. But if you're using smart bidding strategies, you're trusting Google's algorithm to make decisions for you. You lose control. Don't get me wrong, we've had great success utilizing these strategies, especially on our e-commerce campaigns. But I found that nuanced campaigns require the art that is available by human control and manual optimization.
Yeah, I was just on a call the other day, and client had tried both, B2B especially. Just the smart biddings for, what we've seen in that is for B&B extremely challenging to make that work because it's such a finite set to go after. And you have way more experience in the multiple and layered.
I do. Nice segue. Multiple bid adjustments are like when you're setting more than one bid adjustment in your campaign, and then they build on each other. So those adjustments are typically multiplied together to determine how much your bid will increase or decrease. Multiple device and location bid adjustments behave differently. Keep in mind that combined bid adjustments cannot exceed a 900% bid increase, just in case that comes up.
If you're tipping the scale there.
Yeah, so for example, a dollar bid with a device increase of 900% combined with a location increase of 900% will result in a bid of only $10. The lowest possible bid adjustment that you can do when combining multiple bid adjustments is a negative 90. Here's some examples.
Let me rattle these off for you.
Here, you do this one. I'm going to do the next one.
I'm not rattling that off. That's on your notes page.
So let's say that by location, I started at $1, and for location, I'm doing a plus 20. So now I'm at $1.20. It's a Saturday, and my adjustment for a Saturday is a negative 50. That negative 50 is coming off of the $1.20 that I'm currently at, not the dollar that I started at. So my negative 50 for it being a Saturday and therefore lower propensity to convert takes it down to 60 cents. So my resulting bid for searches in California on Saturday is 60 cents. On Sunday through Friday, if I didn't have that negative in there, it would be $1.20.
I think this is one of those ones when you know your business better in a lot of things, so how you want to factor that and where you want to drive that is allows you to layer it that in different ways, especially when you're talking about the time of day and that service.
Yeah. So let's go. I'll tell you what, just to do one quick one here because we're running on schedule. So like we were talking about those high-end women's fashion, right? The $2,000 little black dresses. So I'm going to bid up for female. I'm going to bid up again because they're within that age that converted well, which was like 45 to 54 and then 55 to 64.
Yeah.
So number one, they're female. I'm bidding up. Number two, they're within that age range. We're bidding up. And then I get to their income. And they fall in the lower 50% of household income. There's
Right.
still conversions there, but where I was all excited there for a little bit,
Yep.
now my heart is broken. I do a negative bid adjustment, get it back down to reasonable. Contrast that same scenario that progressed, except they're in the top 10%. So now I've hit the trifecta. They're female. They're within the age range that is buying this, whatever this fashion item is. And they're in the top 10% of household income. Ding, 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 ding. I may end up with a positive 300%
There you go.
bid adjustment
Door
by the
number
time I
3,
leave.
Jim.
But it's worth it because they checked all of the boxes.
Right.
All right. So that's the down and dirty on that piece. Our last bid adjustment, some of the most impactful but underutilized are based on audiences. So the audiences that we have in here, Google identifies audiences, and there's affinity audiences, which is basically users based on what they're passionate about, what their habits and interests are, as revealed to Google by their history, their click stream. In-market audiences are my favorite. They reach users based on their recent purchase intent. Here's what that does. No, I'll go into it.
We're going to dig in.
All right. Well, remarketing, which is people who have visited your website. Customer match, which is existing customers based on you loading your CRM data up. And similar audiences, which are people that look like people who have done business with you before.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dig into the top ones that I find most useful. In-market audiences. So first you have to acknowledge the difference between someone conducting a one-off search for something and someone who has conducted numerous searches, that one and a bunch of similar ones, over a short period of time, and they've engaged with numerous websites germane to that search term. The first one might simply be answering a trivia question on how much a new Ford truck is. The other, by their behavior, indicates that they are actively in market for a new Ford truck, are researching their options, narrowing their choices, and a decision is imminent.
Right.
Given those two scenarios, one who has done one search and one who's done a half a dozen searches, gone to 6 websites, and has lived, breathed, and drank this over the last 3 or 4 days, which is more valuable? The
Go with
second one,
door number 2.
So I would do a positive bid adjustment for that.
Absolutely.
That's what in-market audiences are.
Then we had an example for real estate, and this is only like a snapshot, right?
This is just a snapshot. There's hundreds and hundreds of very specific ones that are available here. But go down to this real estate. All of these, by the way, from the slashes, and you can see it. You can do general real estate. You can do real estate commercial properties. You can do real estate commercial properties for rent or real estate commercial properties for sale.
Yep.
And, you know, like if you were a commercial, renting commercial property and you just grabbed real estate, 99 out of 100 people that have intent for real estate are really looking to buy a house or something else, right? Other
Yep.
than commercial property. So if you narrowed it to commercial property, half of the people are looking to buy and half of the people are looking to rent. So if you were just renting, why not just go straight to people who are showing intent based on their click stream for commercial property for rent and do a bid adjustment accordingly? You guys, this is so impactful, but let the data tell you. So you can set this up in, well, we'll go into that in a minute, in the observation mode. You can do remarketing lists, right? So understand that, especially in today's day and age, people don't just, it's naive to assume that they will, that people don't just do a search, find you, call you, book you, and pay you money, right? Is they found you, you're in consideration. They did the same search again. They found some other people who they are in consideration. Now they got 3 or 4 people in consideration. They do another search.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to stay in consideration. So I can do a bid adjustment to increase my chances of showing up on that search engine results page when they do their 3rd, 4th, and 5th searches.
Right.
And that keeps me in front of them. Keep in mind, it's pay per click. If they don't click on me again, they don't click on me again. It doesn't cost me any money. That is worth doing. So that's
Yeah.
RLSA.
And I'll just touch on, we showed 5 bubbles at the beginning on audiences. These 2 are the ones that kind of, I think, stand out the most to us. Jim, we've talked about like in-market travel. I mean, you got someone going to Uruguay, you can actually find that.
I
It's
know.
crazy. And the list is amazing when you see that if you haven't already. But you can really narrow down on that. And then the remarketing, the RLSA, I get that backwards sometimes. Just 2 of the things that we think are really the ones that stand out a lot. And then this is cool, really cool tool right here as well.
So if you're running a campaign right now, the demographic data is accumulating in there, but there's other data that's not. And so you can't make a decision on it. And you don't even know if there's going to be a delta. So you can set up that you can track that stuff, that Google will take that step and track it, but you're not taking any option on it. And so that's observations. So you can set what you want to look at, and it will grab all that stuff, especially on audiences. And we didn't go through all the audiences in the interest of time.
Yeah.
But there's CRM and then similar audiences that are modeled after your CRM data and whatnot. But those are really important ones that you can set up and then set to observation, not make any changes on, but will accumulate data, and then you can identify the delta and determine whether or not you want to enable it and make bid adjustments on it or not. That's so cool because then you don't have to muddle through.
Right.
You can just sit there and accumulate data.
We like data.
So what is the impact of all this that we just went through? Here's an illustration. This was a campaign. We've at this point, this was the first 5 months that we had it. But we've now had this campaign for, I think, probably north of 48 months. Month 1, they were north of $200 cost per conversion. It was like 238 bucks.
That's what it says on the slide.
Yeah, they could have fired us because in this vertical, they were upside down. It was costing them more to make than, or more to get than they were making at the end of the day. Month 2, we're starting to see some improvement because we're learning what's working. We're accumulating a statistically valid sample size on which to make optimization decisions. And so we lowered it, and it was, I think it was like 160 or something like that month 2. They could have still fired us, but they were at least not as mad. But we told them that it takes 90 to 120 days
Right.
to optimize a campaign, to have statistically valid sample size. So if they had fired us there, they wouldn't have got it down to, the low was, I think, just south of 50 bucks. But it's basically for the last 48 months, it's been between 56 and $65.
Right. And I'll ask you the same question I did yesterday. Well, gosh, it seems like from 4 and 5 that your conversions dropped a lot. And you said, yes, they cut their budget.
Yeah.
But look at their CPA.
Yeah. So there's some, so don't look at, it's like, look at the line, not the bar graphs. The bar graphs, which is the volume of leads that they got or conversions that they got, were impacted by their budget.
Right. So we were still driving a great amount of leads for them. They cut their budget, but still held, even with that, we held a great CPA on it.
By the way, that's a good point that you just brought up, because like if we went back to that first slide about setting what your conversions are and the metrics that matter, right, is like the volume of leads. I always look at cost per, because that stays relevant no matter what your budget is, whether it's a $20,000 or a $10,000 one. If by managing it by cost per lead, then that's a metric that transcends the budget fluctuations.
Yep, simple equation. Good one.
So another couple of ones are here that are a little bit more realistic. This one started out at $113 and reduced to about $64 over a period of time, and has maintained that, with fluctuations. The one to the right of that experienced a 65% decrease over a period of time and has maintained that. That's typically what we'll see. I mean, it's a process, and it's a process because if you make, if you change 100 things at once and it goes up or down, you don't know what did what, right? And so it's just like always randomly doing a combination on a combination lock. There's a lot of combinations. And so it takes time to do it right. It used to be, and I'm talking like in search 12 years ago,
Right.
that it took 90 to 120 days, and we would generally see about a 40% increase or decrease in
Right.
cost per conversion over that period of time. There's a lot more options because back then it was just keywords,
Right.
and there's so many more options and so much more granularity to how we can optimize and deltas that we can identify and make changes to. And keeping in mind that you want to limit how many you do at a time so that you can analyze the impact of those changes to get, that number one, there's opportunity to get better optimization as you see in these two slides. But the other thing is that overall it's going to take a little bit longer. I still think that we get on average 20 to 40% over 90 days, but it takes another, 3 or 4 or 5 months to get maximum efficiency.
Yeah, and keep me honest, Jim. You're closer to this than I am on many things, on many times, whatever I'm trying to say. But there's so many factors in people's business too that you see some of these fluctuations, seasonality, what you can expect from competitors. We just did a webinar on like the Olympics are coming, elections are coming. We're going to see some different things. So know some of those outside forces that might be impacting your CPC, so that you can explain that, or your cost per lead. You can explain that. To anyone that needs to be explained.
Yeah,
But you understand outside forces are impacting this sometimes as well.
Absolutely. An umbrella hits, or an umbrella, what are those things? Butterfly. A butterfly hits your windshield in Portland, Oregon, and a grapefruit doesn't, 6 months later, doesn't get germinated and fall to the ground in Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, you guys. It's not
Yeah.
as simple. Um, it's way more complex than it was 10, 12 years ago. But the opportunities are still there, and you need to identify them and take advantage of them in order to maximize your return on investment from your ad spend. That's all I've got to say about that. We went over the foundation. We went over what goals and conversions were, and identifying and defining the metrics that matter for you in your unique situation. The bid adjustments that are available to us by device, by geography, by time of day, day of week, demographic data, all that stuff. And then most importantly, some audience in there, which you can also set up and observe to identify the deltas. Does that check off everything that we promised these fine people when they signed up for this webinar?
I think it checks it off and more. Hopefully we covered door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3 in this adventure.
Are there any questions?
I'm not seeing any right now. You got? Just give it a second. People might write these in. Sometimes they come in.
I don't even know. Oh, here's one. You've talked about lead generation and e-com in your examples. Are there other conversions you can optimize to? Yeah, I mean, basically whatever you want. So on the, as we kind of hit there, is if it's a retail establishment, and a hard conversion like a form fill isn't likely, or a phone call isn't likely, map and directions might be close.
Right.
Or, because keep in mind, what we're trying to do is value good engagement from bad engagement. And so if somebody spent 3 days on your, or 3 days, yeah, if somebody spent, like visited 5 pages on your website and spent 3 minutes, that might define to you that they were actively engaged.
Right.
They were going down the path of righteousness, and you can set that up as a conversion, is engagement, website engagement, and you can optimize to that.
Awesome.
All right,
Well,
so
I think that might be it.
we're 5 minutes before,
Yeah.
so we give 5 minutes back to everybody.
Exactly. you see our beautiful thank you page. All our webinars are hosted on a resource page. Again, we're going to send this out to you. If you have additional questions, please send them to us. That's about it. You got our contact information. We greatly appreciate it. Hope this is valuable to you, and we'll be back with more in a while. So thanks, everyone.